Hello everyone, July the 25th today, day out of time in the Mayan calendar, a very special feature there, we get to that. And that's where we are heading, that's the full moon of August the 12th. Moon in Aquarius, squaring Uranus, the North Node. So that's where we're heading with the black moon rising and Mercury at the 4th house cusp. This is really the picture of the big awakening in a very simple term. So let's just see how this builds up to this point. That's where we are starting here in this presentation on the 15th of July. That's a bit more than a week ago, with BIENOR for the first time entering again into Cancer after many decades. BIENOR is one of the Centaurs related to free spirit, that strong urge for freedom and of self, of sovereignty and standing up for all which matters, being strong. The strong man is kind of the literal translation. So with BIENOR entering Cancer, we're really getting into this emotional energy of standing up for ourselves and really demanding our rights. And that's what's happening on our planet. It's really like, I mean, we knew that. I said it many times. It's kind of, the dough is rising. And now it's really, really rising. There is all these catalysts within society, all these many people who are telling the truth, what is really happening. And slowly it sinks into all these many under mind control. And that's what it really is. Actually, I just learned last week, one of the Gaia episodes, matrix manipulations from the moon, and which we heard from other sources too, that the moon is really used as a giant mirror to send frequencies towards Earth which are cancelling out everything which is above 3D. Now this is a big one. According to this channeling from Taygeta, Svaru is that Pleiadian entity's name. It's really amazing information. So the long and short, this broadcast of interference frequencies which are cancelling out everything above 3D, this has been going on for 12,500 years basically, but that's a whole story in itself. So the thing is that this system is now taken down. It already has been reduced by 2/3 of its power. According to this channeling, there's 12 different power plants in the moon which had been used as the transmitting energy for these frequencies. 8 of those have failed, so we're down to 4, and they're very old. And anyway, I just want to say this is what is happening. It is everything. Control system is breaking down. Look at today's crop circle. It's just unbelievable. The synchronicity here of what's happening. Just starting with this one. This was yesterday. It was updated today in England, the latest crop formation, and I guess you probably all know this is what it is resembling. It's definitely very, very close, if not pretty close. Just the G is missing. Now, what is this? This is the Freemasons symbol. The Freemasons, according to many of the writers, like Maxwell is one of the great spirits who has Jordan Maxwell. You can look him up. He has been revealing all this hidden history for decades. There's lots about Jordan Maxwell. He actually passed away this last few months he was in his late 80s, I guess. He really did help that great awakening of bringing the consciousness towards what is really going on behind the scene here. And now, today, as I say, is the day out of time. Let's look at this for a moment. The day out of time is when the sun is vertically above Chichen Itza, which is supposed to be kind of the heart of the Mayan culture at the time when it was in its highest expression. They assume there were millions of Mayans in that area, and all of a sudden they all disappeared, which is a mystery in itself. Chichen Itza is where the sun is standing vertical on July the 26th, which is each year celebrated as the New Year's Day within the 365 day, within the solar year in that sense. That is the day. And tomorrow that is going to be for Muluk a portal day. But before we get there, today, the 25th day out of time, 3 Lammat. The Venus star, the electric star, this is a great day to show all the synchronicities and the beauty of it all. That's really what it boils down to, which takes a whole edge off everything, because it's showing that this whole thing is really unfolding according to a great plan. And it's just us humans which are conditioned into polarization, thinking good, bad, light, dark, devil and God kind of polarity. And that's really what we have to enter, a higher dimension of watching everything. We should kind of come to the top of the pyramid and see that polarity is just the motor of evolution. It's as simple as this. So this takes the whole emotional charge out of it when we see the beauty and that everything is really unfolding according to plan. And that's the other interesting thing. It's really a mechanical energy we are opposing. So this in itself, this force is not evil, this force is not good, it's mechanical. I guess if you really understand this to the very core, then you can't be mad at it. It's really simple as something which has been imposed on this reality. Anyway, I don't want to go out on a limb. The reason I say all this is we're getting into a very powerful year, a year which is starting on a portal day for Muluk, is the red self-existing moon. Now, we were talking about the moon many times already in the last few months. In the Chinese calendar, this is a water tiger. Water stands for emotions. So this is a very emotional year. The black moon, the lunar apogee, is in Cancer. Just let me go here quickly. This is the black moon here in Cancer since something like early April into January 2023. So this is all this emotional energy is really revved up and super powerful with the moon entering. Well, I should not talk and do things. I cannot do that. I'm not good at multitasking. Anyway, so here we are back for Muluk tomorrow, the red self-existing moon. The moon resonating with the people in astrology. The moon also resonating with that whole control frequency I just mentioned. So the moon is very complex in itself, in its energetic expression. On one end, it is the the natural frequency of the moon, I would call it, which is due to its physical presence, its size, and matter is vibrating at a certain level. That's the most basic of all the celestial bodies' energies. It is that direct impact from the massiveness of it, which is, I would say, as much as we can say, the most natural frequency. And then on top of that, there's all kinds of resonances and patterns. And the moon now is related on one hand to all these artificial frequencies which are broadcasted from the moon with all these amazing technologies to keep everybody at 3D stuck. And I mean, it's breaking down the system here and there. There are glitches. People are starting to see things beyond the 3D. It said there's ghosts, there is monsters, there is 4 5D animals, that it's and even dead people can potentially be seen in 5D. So it is really a totally different ball game. There's many things we can see which are not in this 3D version available, but in a basic way. So anyway, we are breaking here really on many levels into something very powerful. The number 4 is the self-existing energy, something which has sovereignty, has a way to define itself, put a clear mark on the map. It's a milestone, you could say, or a castle. That's the energy of the 4 in the frequency of Kimi, which is the world bridger, which is a very, very beautiful energy of introspection, of understanding that everything is cyclic, that death is just the other aspect of life. Again, it is this polarity. As soon as we are getting to 5DL, that polarity becomes much more playful, at least I would say. It's no more has this strong anxiety and stress related to it, because we then can see through the veils. Everything is becoming kind of amalgamated together, the different frequencies, the different dimensions. So this is a kind of a very auspicious sign in itself that we are starting on a portal day. Now let's go to the astrology first, and I will zoom back to where I just was. Okay, so yeah, that's where we started, and again, to roll it back, that's where we will end up in this present extremely potent, extremely fast moving period of time. And it's really like that moment short before we're gushing down the waterfall. I used this allegory many times. In that Whitewater region, if you ever have, and I guess you all have, visit the waterfall, if you are right there, where short before it breaks off into the abyss, where the water is absolutely turbulent and wild, that's kind of where we are right now. Astrology shows it on so many levels. So anyway, Mercury at the 4th house cusp, that is really the knowing coming into consciousness. This is the consciousness axis, this is the root in Virgo here, in hexagram. Now let me say it right, this is 64 4. The last one, which is after conclusion. No, sorry, it is a before. Okay, give me 1 sec. I have it right here. Yeah, I sometimes get confused. I guess that's how it happens. Here we are. 64 is before completion, right? Yeah, and so this polarity 64, before completion, after completion, which is at the core. So it is kind of that opening of the door, and now we are ready to incorporate everything and incorporate that deep shadow in hexagram 39 that is here, which is obstruction. Understanding the conflict in a very direct way, that there were put hindrances in our ways of being able to integrate and understand the universe in its complexity. These are broken down as we speak in very big ways. I mean, I guess most of us don't really follow the news anymore that much, because it's anyway just all garbage. It's not worth it. But if you follow some of the alternative channels, and I just was seeing this one. I mean, there's so many good YouTube creators out there. So in Switzerland, they have put on these big posters of the most wanted, and the farmers in the Netherlands and everywhere in Italy. Great protests everywhere worldwide. It's happening in many nations. Argentina, I even heard. It's really, the world already is in turmoil, I would say. At least that much we can say for sure. And this black moon here at the 4th house cusp exactly shows that, and this T-square to Pluto and Ceres with Haumea. So I talked of this square a few times. Haumea is really the reform energy which is coming in here to recreate. Haumea is related to a Hawaiian goddess. It's a feminine frequency, and the goddess of fire, which is actually, according to the creation myth of the Hawaiian people, that's who created the islands. So it is really something totally new, which is here from ground up, refueled, a rebirth through fire, in a very simple way said. And Pluto up here, this square is active for the next 2 to 3 years. We just had the first of about 5 of exact square aspects, 90-degree aspects, a couple weeks ago. I mentioned it at the time. And naturally, Ceres, the earth goddess, which is strongly related to our physical well-being, of being nourished and being cared for emotionally, and on all levels of abundance. Cancer is a very abundant sign. The sun also tying in here to this square aspect that was actually then exact just a few days later. But the energies were building here already strongly. This T-square is exceptional. Also with Aries rising. Aries is the golden apple of discord, which is thrown into the middle of the table, kind of challenging us to look for a deeper harmony, and on the way to this deeper and greater harmony and integration, Aries is inviting us to go through the challenge and the struggle and the confrontation. That's basically what it is. And again, everything here, this axis is tied into galactic energy with the galactic center here in an exact trine aspect in the 9th house. Actually, really the help from above is truly shown here. The Moon Saturn conjunction definitely is what we are seeing. There is suffering. Definitely, this is a difficult time. This is certainly a harsh time. This is mostly experienced by the people in Eastern Europe. The Ukraine has its birth moon at 22 degrees Aquarius, so the Ukrainian people will have 3 different exact contacts of Saturn. One was, I guess, in March, one is in August coming, and the third one in December or so. So this showed from the beginning that this would be a long-standing crisis, even though I expected the war to be over much earlier. Would have been, if not all the stuff which is shipped over there to prolong the war, and basically they're not allowed to even start peace talks. The pressure from the control system is so strong. You know that. I'm not talking new things. So this is all really shown here with the black moon at the 4th house cusp. This is a super difficult time to start with, but it is pushing us through that door to fully embrace, to see that when 3 doctors in a hospital die within a week, like happened in Mississauga in Canada, Ontario, last week, 3 doctors 2 days apart each died in that hospital who were working there, all in their best times of their lives, roughly. We look at pictures 40, 50 years old. And so naturally all that information is still keeping under the lid, suppressed, as the mainstream is not really allowing it out, but it is happening. I mean, the main reason for death in Alberta, here in the province of Canada where I'm living, the main reason is now death cause unknown. Unbelievable. And it has skyrocketed. In the last 2 years, unknown causes of death were in the range of a few hundred. Now it's 3,500 just for the first 6 months. So expect that to double at least. So from a few hundred, 500 to 14,000, that's kind of where we're going. That is a 30-fold number of people dying from unknown causes than we had in the last 2 years. I mean, the elephant is in the room. We all know it. And everybody deserves to come to know it. We have to really be vocal. It is important. We are the ones who are we have been waiting for, as the Hopi saying is, we are the ones we have been waiting for. So really embrace yourself, be your own guide. In that sense, it is that connection with our future selves, if you want, which is really helping us, pushing us, supporting us. So let's keep going here. I have a bunch of charts, so let's see if we get through those in a timely manner. Anyway, so then on the 22nd of July, that's just 2 days ago, we had the 7th of 15 Uranus occultations. Uranus hiding behind the moon, at least in parts, in some areas of our Earth, which is an interesting thing as such. Between February 2022 and February 2023, for a full year, every time the moon is here in this area of Taurus, it will go behind the Uranus, it will travel over Uranus. Yeah, that's how to say it. I mean, Uranus is much farther away, naturally. So the moon is traveling in front of Uranus, getting that direct frequency of Uranus implanted in its frequency. At least that's how you have to see it, standing on Earth. If you look at the moon, then Uranus will be behind it, invisible, so it kind of sends its frequencies through the moon. The moon becomes a mirror and amplifier for Uranian energy on one level. On the other, Uranus gets hidden behind the moon, which is interesting in itself, that whole dichotomy paradox, which, anyway, could go down another rabbit hole here. So this is the moment when that was exact, and I guess it's obvious. The moon and Uranus and the the north node, the direction of evolution, here in a perfect T-square with the global horizon, the Greenwich horizon. Greenwich again, 1/7 above the equator of Earth's radius, in a perfect position to receive higher dimensional energies. And the zero meridian, that's the intersection of these two lines which meet in Greenwich, the zero meridian which divides Earth in a western and the eastern hemisphere. So anyway, this is a super important place on the planet. I'm using it over and again just to wanted to throw in this quick explanation again for those who are new here. Exactly in the 90 degree above the horizon. I mean, this is obvious. This shows this is what is the big theme. This is the big gong up there. Hello, hello, hello. Wake up, people. It's time. Get out of your sand. Pushing your sand head into the sand thing. Just at the cusp of the sun and Ceres in sync, entering Leo just a few hours prior to that. So this is a powerful placement of the sun and Ceres. Again, Ceres always tied in when there's shaking going on, earthquakes, something which is fundamentally important for living on this planet. Every time Ceres is kind of the herald of this fiery energy which is just about getting tapped into, which we are now in naturally for the next 28 days still till August the 22nd or something. So we are now in this Leo frequency. We are going to square that Uranus on full moon, as I showed you. Again, I could say so many things more. This one I particularly want to point out the base here of this 7th of 15 occultations, which in itself is interesting because it's exactly the center of these 15. Hygeia, health, well-being, serendipity. So it is the intuitive understanding that we have to go to the bottom of the pile, scorpionic, digging to the depth, really diving to the very bottom of the well, you could say. You need a long breath to do that. I once did it in a big old water well, probably about 5-6 meters deep. You need lots of it takes a bit to go down there, but it's a scorpionic thing, and it is so good. It feels so healthy if we do that. That's what we see here. And then just a couple days into the future still, we have the Leo full moon, the 28th, and again we have Hygeia now up here. So this is the incentive. This is really what pulls us from a very deep place to come to this realization and integration of health and well-being. That's the main driver, you could say. But before we get there, let me see, this is what's now in the stars for Wednesday. And this is a very, very important little detail. ARROKOTH, for those of you who have been following my channel, are probably a little bit in the know. ARROKOTH is that tiny planet, little Kuiper belt object, far further out than Pluto, and it has been visited. That's a special feature by the New Horizons spacecraft, the one which originally was sent out to investigate Pluto, which happened in July 2015. And then, as that spacecraft still was in good shape, the astronomers were looking for a body which would be in its trajectory to be further inspected, and that was what ARROKOTH came to be. So ARROKOTH is a very pristine world of original truth and original beauty. ARROKOTH also, according to its name, which was given, is standing under the open sky, seeing the whole panorama. That is the meaning of that word in the native Indian language of that tribe in Virginia, Baltimore. That was the ground base of all that observation of the New Horizons space probe. That was the ground crew was there in Baltimore. That's the connection there. So anyway, ARROKOTH brought information back from deep space 4 billion years ago. That's how the solar system looked, and by all the data, the scientific data, scientists had to rewrite the history of the solar system because of that information. That's very big, very, very important to understand of the powers of ARROKOTH. ARROKOTH can open the curtains in a way that you have to rewrite your whole history. That's what we're actually in right now. Since January, ARROKOTH had, for the first time in whatever over 300 years, been in this part of the zodiac, 2045 Capricorn. That's where hexagram 61 begins. So that was the first time now since 25th of January, pretty much till in a couple days, ARROKOTH had its first episode in that frequency of inner truth, which totally resonates with ARROKOTH's frequency. So I immediately realized a couple of years ago when I saw this would be the case, that this would be the first big window into connecting the dots, if you want. And now we're getting out of that window. Guess what will happen on July the 27th? We go back into the chaos of hexagram 54, officially known as the Marrying Maiden. However, 54 is a super interesting energy in the center of Capricorn. It is, the image is there that it's truly the emperor's concubine, wife, female consort who is ruling the kingdom. Do you get it? It's the feminine principle which is above the male principle. The male though still thinks it's in charge, it's giving the orders and whatever the directives, but truly it is that feminine energy behind the curtain which is ruling in that sense above the male principle in the terms of influence, in the terms of manipulation, if you want. So we're getting back into the manipulative section, if you want. Last time we were there now for the last decade or so, roughly, in and out naturally, but it was a very tumultuous and wild time. Also Pluto was there naturally in the last few years in that hexagram, has meanwhile passed Pluto has continued on its journey, is now actually in hexagram, can I say it, 49, yes, which is super interesting one too, which is revolution, just by the way, between 1852 and 30 seconds and 24 degrees and 40 and 30 minutes. Yes, this is revolution. So yes, this is in itself interesting. So, but ARROKOTH now, that energy of showing us the bigger picture, putting all the pieces of the puzzle in the right place, enabling us to just see. We don't have to believe anymore. We don't have to follow anyone. It is all out in the open, very clearly to see, as if it was be a phenomenon up in the night sky. Nobody has to ask questions. If we all see the same thing, we just all know in that very moment. And this is maybe a contradiction, that while ARROKOTH goes back into the tumultuous phase, that this would be really the moment of eye-opening, but it will be, and I can already feel it. It is really that control system which is now in complete overdrive. And what in a nutshell will happen, it will go even more crazily into overdrive, with just irrational and pushing these agendas at a pace which is only explainable with panic and with not wanting to miss the train, because the train is already moving so fast. They try to block everything and pull everything in such a way that nobody is really able to ignore this anymore. And this was what we truly see here with Jupiter at the 4th house cusp in this moment, with Pallas at the 7th house cusp. Jupiter here together with Salacia, and this is another really, really interesting synchronicity of our times, that we have this conjunction of Jupiter and Salacia for the next several months. Salacia is enjoyment, pure enjoyment. It is just a natural overflow of joy and beauty and harmony, and whatever you do, you are 100% involved in it. So this is in its purest form. I see this as the Tibetan tantric force of everything is beautiful. It doesn't matter what you do, even it doesn't matter in what mood you are. If you're able to stand behind yourself and watch, then you can enjoy even sadness, rage, all the so-called dark energies, grief. If you truly can stand behind, then you will enjoy all colors. Then ecstasy and agony are no more really two different things. They're just different ends of the spectrum. That is the deepest message of Salacia. Salacia is in Aries since about 2018. And I will actually I really want to do another little video on Salacia itself, as it seems to be the most basic driver. I was before speaking of Hygeia, of being one of the main drivers of what's going on, but Salacia in a way is the even more spiritual starting point in the whole thing of allowing this play in all its aspects, and in starting to enjoy it, starting really to just look at it in a different way. And I sense that this is happening in a big way at an extreme pace, and astrology actually shows it. It's interesting, just again, the moon is always important in any mundane chart because it's the fastest moving one, naturally, along with the major suspension points. You see, you always have to understand Earth is here within a little globe. This is the big firmament, 360 degrees. This is above Earth here. This is below Earth. So if we look at Earth and we're standing here on top of Earth, it's the eastern horizon, the western horizon. This is the center of the sky where the sun would be at midday and midnight. So these are the main suspension points, and when they are strongly populated by energies like here, Palace, which truth, justice, art, science, it is the ability of abstract thinking. That's what really Palace is, of putting together different segments of perception and bringing them into alignment and being able to extract conclusions. And that's what it really is. And in Gemini, naturally, Palace is well placed. So this is again perfect. This will be for the next couple months for sure still. So with Jupiter down here, the big amplifier, that's, I guess, the most simple way we should see Jupiter. Jupiter is the biggest planet. It's whatever, over 100,000 miles in diameter. You could fit something like 12 Earths within Jupiter just on its perimeter. Jupiter is huge, and Jupiter is loud and has enormous momentum. Jupiter is the fastest spinning planet too. It spins once in 11, or I guess even in less than 10 hours. So it said Jupiter contains over 60% of the whole solar system's angular momentum, which is the one which is really spinning the wheel of fortune. The wheel of fortune, another expression of Jupiter in the tarot. The wheel of fortune is resonating with Jupiter's frequency. So anyway, this is a super powerful chart in itself. I just want to point out a few things aside from what I said so far. We have TX 300 at the midpoint of descendant and midnight point. TX 300 is with the energy of boldness, being loud, being almost a brute force at time. It was really interesting earlier this year in February when we had the big Canadian convoy, Freedom Convoy. That is when TX 300 was strongly standing out, and I realized that was a connection also to these big trucks, these big impressive engines. So that's kind of the energy which is here in the center of the 5th house of self-expression. And then we have the moon here at pretty perfect midpoint of Sun and the black moon. The exact midpoint would be 23 degrees and 5 minutes. So you see the moon is just shy of something like 14 minutes of arc, and applying, closing in on the exactness of the aspect. Okay, what does that mean? It really means that, yes, now everybody can see the what at first would anger you, what would upset you, what would give you pain and grief, all these dark realizations. That's basically what it is. But we are here to help these people to come to terms with reality. You see Venus, the black moon conjunction, extremely close by 4 minutes of arc. It is a deep realization of that things are what they seem, that there is a deep disappointment here visible too, hurt feeling. It is naturally a process. This is the beginning of a 4-month period we are looking at here. So this is all seed energy, if you want. You can't expect this to unfold on the 27th right away. This is just a starting point, adding a new note to that musical piece. And just as the existence is ever so slightly pushing us into a certain direction, it's kind of like guardrails. It's not that we are head on pushed into something. We are kind of guided slowly, kind of, I guess you get the picture. It is not something rude. We have freedom within this to a certain degree. It's like each sand particle in an what do you call that? When you vibrate sound, sand with sound, cymatics. Here it comes to my mind. So each of us is kind of one of the grains of sand vibrating, and when the frequencies change in a bigger picture, it takes the sand grains a moment to adjust to the new pattern, and each grain has freedom to some degree to resonate in its own space, adjust to the greater frequencies. That's kind of how you have to see it, how we are adjusting. And these are, as I say, guardrails. We are kind of guided, pushed into a certain position. So I guess I stop here, as I already have said so much, and I will do another one on the new moon and the coming charts I have here. I just quickly run them through here, but I don't want to, again, keep it shorter. Just show you here quickly. These are the charts I have here lined up into the end of July, which is really the high point, which I said in an earlier post. We're building up to that point the whole month of July, naturally, and before already too, but particularly July has been a strong build-up in pressure, momentum, but the real moment when the spark is lit will be around the last 2 days of the month. This will be kind of a big clash of sorts. You can see it in this chart already. So I want to build the story from this coming new moon on the 28th into this last day of the month. These will be extremely intense, powerful, wonderful days. If you can see the bigger picture, it is truly happening now. We are breaking through a huge wall here into a whole new potential of what will unfold. Anyway, I leave it at that, and stay tuned. Again, if you liked it, give it a like or subscribe, even share if you know anyone who could be interested in what I'm sharing here. Thanks for being here. See you soon.